There is something nobody talks about when they discuss people who learn languages fast. Not the apps they used, not the courses they took, not how many hours they studied. Nobody talks about what was going on inside their heads before any of that started. Think about someone like Elon Musk, born in South Africa. First language was not English. Moved to the United States as a young man. No safety net, no guarantee, no perfect accent. And today he runs some of the most complex companies in the world, communicates with engineers, investors, journalists, and governments, all in English. Now, I am not telling you this to say, just be like Elon Musk. That would be ridiculous, and honestly, a little unhelpful. I am telling you this because of one question it raises. What did the people who actually reached fluency believe about themselves before they were fluent? Because here is what I have noticed, and what many people who work with language learners observe as well. The ones who make it, the ones who go from freezing up every time someone speaks to them to actually holding a real conversation in English, they did not just study differently. They thought differently. First, maybe you have been studying English for years. Maybe you watch videos, use apps, understand movies pretty well when there are subtitles. But the moment someone in a coffee shop in New York looks at you and asks a question, your mind goes blank, your throat tightens, you smile and nod, and inside, you feel something between frustration and shame. If that has happened to you, I want you to hear this clearly. That is not a sign that your English is bad. It is not a sign that you are not smart enough, or that fluency is not for you. It is a sign that you have been training one thing, but being tested on something completely different. And today, we are going to talk about the mindset shift that separates the people who break through from the ones who stay stuck, not because they are more talented, but because they see the whole thing differently. Here is the core problem, and I want you to really sit with this, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The way most people learn English, in school, in traditional courses, even with many apps, trains one specific skill: comprehension, understanding, the ability to look at English and decode it, read a sentence and know what it means, hear a phrase and recognize it, take a test and choose the right answer, and look, comprehension matters. It is a real skill, but it is a completely different skill from production. From opening your mouth and generating English in real time, under pressure, in front of another human being. Think about it this way. Imagine someone who wants to learn how to swim. They read every book about swimming. They study the biomechanics. They watch hours of Olympic swimmers. They could tell you exactly how to position your arms, how to breathe, how to turn your head. And then they walk up to the pool, and they sink. Because knowing about swimming and swimming are two entirely different things. Your body has to learn to swim, not your brain, your body. And English fluency works the same way. You can know every grammar rule. You can have a massive vocabulary. You can understand everything you hear. But if your mouth has never practiced producing English under pressure, if your voice has never had to search for a word in real time and find it, then your mouth is not trained. It does not matter how much your brain knows. Here is another way to look at it. Think about someone who wants to run a marathon. They study nutrition. They analyze pace strategies. They watch race footage. But they never actually run. They never feel what it is like when their lungs burn and their legs want to stop and their mind is telling them to quit. All of that study means nothing when mile 20 comes. Fluency is not a knowledge test. It is a physical performance. And what most of us were never told, what many educators who work specifically with spoken language acquisition observe, is that the mouth needs its own training. Separate from reading, separate from listening. The mouth needs repetitions. It needs to fail and recover. It needs to search for words under mild pressure, over and over, until the searching becomes faster and faster, until it becomes almost automatic. This is not a personal flaw. This is what happens when a system trains you to understand, and then puts you in situations that require you to produce. The problem was never you. The problem was always the mismatch between how you trained and what fluency actually demands. Take a moment with that, because everything we are going to talk about today starts from that understanding. Let me tell you about a specific moment. I remember it clearly, even now. I was in line at a Starbucks. This was during a trip to the United States. One of those trips I had been preparing for mentally for weeks. I had studied, I had reviewed vocabulary, I had even practiced what I might order. Grande, oat milk, no sugar. I knew the words. I had rehearsed this. The barista looked at me and asked something. I caught most of it. But there was one word, just one word, that I did not catch. And instead of asking her to repeat it, which I knew was completely acceptable, which I had told myself was fine, which I had rehearsed as a backup option, I froze. Not because I did not speak English, not because I was dumb, but because my brain entered this state of, I do not know how to describe it, alarm. Like a small alarm going off that said, this is real. This is not practice. This person is waiting. Say something. Say something now. And I smiled, nodded, said, yes. She handed me a drink that was not what I wanted. I said, thank you. I walked to the corner of that Starbucks and I stood there with the wrong order, feeling something that was embarrassing to even admit to myself. It was not the drink. It was what the moment revealed. That all my preparation had been preparation to understand, not preparation to perform, not preparation for the real thing, with real pressure, with a real person who had other customers behind me and no obligation to slow down for my brain. I stood there and thought, I am not bad at English. I am bad at English under pressure. And those are two completely different problems with two completely different solutions. That moment did something important. It made me stop asking, how do I study more English? And start asking, how do I train for the real thing? And that question, that shift in what I was even trying to solve, changed everything about how I practiced. It changed the exercises I did. It changed the habits I built. And slowly, over time, it changed what happened when someone looked at me and started speaking. Not overnight, not in 30 days, but in a direction that actually moved, which is more than I could say about the years before that. I want to show you the framework that came out of that shift, and I think if you apply it, you are going to start moving in that direction too. The 1% Mindset Method. Before I show you this, I want you to understand something important. This is not a magic formula. It is a way of thinking about practice that most people never adopt because nobody ever told them they needed to. But the people who reach fluency, in my observation, and in the observation of many who work with language learners, tend to do these three things consistently. Not perfectly, consistently. Step 1. Train the mouth, not just the mind. The first shift is understanding that your mouth needs dedicated practice, not as a side effect of studying, but as the main event. What this looks like in practice. Every day you speak English out loud, not in your head. Out loud, your actual voice, in the actual air. Even if nobody is listening, even if what you say is simple, even if you make mistakes. Here is a specific exercise. Pick one topic, your morning, your commute, your job, anything, and describe it in English for 2 minutes. Do not write it first. Do not translate it in your head first. Just start talking. Out loud. Let the words come badly if they need to. The goal is not perfect English. The goal is mouth repetitions. For example, I woke up at 6:30. I had coffee. It was cold outside. I need to send 3 emails today and I'm kind of dreading one of them. That is real English. That is your mouth learning to produce. Every time you do that, you are training the reflex, not the knowledge. This is the part that most people skip, and it is the part that matters most. Pause here and think about how many hours you have spent consuming English, reading, listening, watching. Now think about how many hours your mouth has spent producing English. That gap is exactly where fluency lives. Step 2, practice pressure, not just comfort. Here is where everything changes. The reason you freeze in real situations is that you have only ever practiced in zero-pressure environments, alone, with no one waiting, with time to think. But real communication has pressure. Someone is looking at you. There is a clock, there is social weight. So you need to introduce mild pressure into your practice. Not terrifying pressure, mild pressure. Here is how. Set a timer for 90 seconds and talk about a topic until the timer goes off, without stopping. You cannot pause. You cannot restart. You have to keep talking. Even if you say, 15 times. Even if you repeat yourself. The timer is the pressure. The rule is, the voice does not stop. Over time, and this is what many learners who do this consistently report, the silences get shorter. The searches get faster. The brain starts anticipating rather than reacting, because it has been in that situation enough times that it knows how to navigate it. Think of it like practicing free throws in basketball. You do not just shoot when you feel ready. You shoot when you are tired, when the gym is loud, when someone is watching. Because the game is not going to wait for you to feel comfortable. The game never waits. Step 3. Redefine what progress looks like. This is the most important step, and it is the one most people never take. The people who reach fluency, the ones who actually break through, do not measure progress by how fluent they were today. They measure it by one question. Am I a little better than I was yesterday? Not compared to a native speaker, not compared to someone in your class who seems to always know the right word, compared to yesterday's version of you. And here is what that means in practice. After every practice session, even a messy one, even one where you stumbled over every third word, you ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do better than last time? What was harder than I expected? What is one thing I am going to work on next time? This is not journaling for the sake of journaling. This is training your brain to look for evidence of progress, because your brain, left alone, will only look for evidence of failure. That is how brains work. They are wired to notice what went wrong, not what went right. The 1% mindset is this. If you improve by 1% every day, if today's practice session moves you one small step forward, then you are on the path. Not the Instagram path where everyone looks fluent in 30 days. The real path, the one that actually gets you there. Stay with me here, because the system only works if you build it into your daily life. And that is what we are going to talk about next. Now let us make this concrete, because a mindset without a routine is just inspiration, and inspiration by itself does not build fluency. Here is how to build this into your actual day, without needing a partner, without needing a teacher, and without needing more than 40 minutes total. Morning, 5 minutes. Before you check your phone. Imagine it is early morning. Your alarm went off. Before you touch your phone, before you see the notifications, the news, the messages, you sit up, and for 5 minutes, you talk. Out loud, in English, about today. What are you going to do? What are you looking forward to? What are you nervous about? It does not have to be eloquent. It does not have to be correct. It just has to be spoken. Why this moment? Because in the morning, your brain is in production mode. It has not been flooded yet by passive consumption. It is ready to generate. And if the first thing your mouth does every day is produce English, even for 5 minutes, you are setting a tone. You are telling your brain, today we speak. You can stack this habit onto something you already do. Make your coffee, and while it brews, you talk. Get dressed, and while you button your shirt, you narrate what you are doing in English. Small, specific, real. During the day, 10 minutes in the gaps. This is about using the time you are already wasting. Your commute, a line at a store, lunch alone, walking between meetings. Here is the exercise. Find a short audio clip, a podcast moment, a YouTube excerpt, a news segment, something between 60 and 90 seconds long. Listen once, then try to repeat what you heard. Not word for word, just the ideas, in your own words, out loud. Then listen again. Notice what you missed. This is a simplified version of something many language coaches recommend. Active listening, followed by immediate production. Your brain retains far more when it has to produce right after receiving. Passive listening alone tends to let language slide through without sticking. The key word is immediately. Do not wait until tonight. Do not wait until you feel ready. Listen, produce, move on, even if it's messy, especially if it is messy. Night, 20 minutes before you wind down. This is your deep practice window. This is where real gains are built. Imagine it is evening. The day is winding down. You have 20 minutes. Spend the first 10 minutes on what many fluency coaches call shadowing, playing an audio source and speaking along with it at the same time, matching the rhythm, the speed, the intonation. Not translating, not analyzing, just mirroring, like a musician playing along with a recording to absorb how it feels. Then spend 5 minutes on what I call the teach back. Pick one thing you did today, one conversation, one meeting, one moment, and explain it in English as if you were telling a friend. Out loud. This is production under real content, your real life, your real language. Then spend the final 5 minutes asking yourself those 3 questions from step 3. What went well? What was hard? What is one thing I focus on tomorrow? There will be days when you want to skip this. That is normal. That is not weakness. That is how habit formation actually works. The resistance is part of the process. The people who build fluency are not the ones who never want to skip. They are the ones who do the 20 minutes even on the days when they want to skip. I want to talk about something that nobody prepares you for. There are going to be days when you practice and it feels like nothing is improving. You do your 5 minutes in the morning and it feels awkward. You do your shadowing at night and you sound nothing like the person you are listening to. You try to explain something and you stumble over a sentence you feel like you should know by now. And on those days, a voice in your head is going to say, maybe this is not working. Maybe I am just not a language person. Maybe fluency is for someone else. If you have ever felt that, I want you to know something. You are not alone in that feeling. It is one of the most common experiences of anyone who is genuinely building a new skill, not just performing the appearance of learning, but actually doing the hard work of changing how their brain and body operate. Here is what many people who study skill development observe. The days when nothing seems to be happening are often the days when the most is happening underneath the surface. Think about what happens when you lift weights. The muscle does not grow during the workout. It grows during rest. The workout is the stimulus. The growth happens after, invisibly, while you go about your day. And there are weeks, sometimes long stretches, when you look in the mirror and you do not see a difference. But the process is happening, your body is changing, and one day you notice it. Fluency is the same. Are you a little better today than you were yesterday? That is the only question that matters. Not, am I fluent yet? Not, why is this taking so long? Not, why does that person seem to pick this up so easily? Just, am I a little better today than yesterday? If you did your 5 minutes this morning, the answer is yes. If you listened and repeated during your commute, the answer is yes. If you did your 20 minutes tonight even though you wanted to skip it, the answer is absolutely yes. The comparison that destroys progress is the one between you and someone else, because you do not know their starting point. You do not know how many hours they have put in behind closed doors. You do not know what it looked like for them on day 45 when they were frustrated and ready to quit. You only see the after, never the during. The comparison that builds progress is the one between you and yesterday's version of yourself. I know there are moments when the shame comes back. When you are in a meeting and someone addresses you in English and your heart rate spikes. When you are traveling in the United States and someone speaks faster than you expected and you miss half of what they said. When you have a conversation in your head, but the words disappear when you actually need them. Those moments are not evidence that you cannot do this. They are evidence that you are in the middle of doing it. The people in the 1% who reach fluency are not the ones who avoided those moments. They are the ones who kept showing up after them. And that is something you can choose. Today, right now. You can decide that today's awkward 5 minutes matters, that tonight's messy shadowing session counts, that the one sentence you produce, imperfectly, slowly, with a pause in the middle, is a sentence your mouth has now practiced saying in the real world, and that is more than you had yesterday. So here is what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not this weekend when you have more time. Right now, after this video ends, I want you to say this sentence out loud, with your actual voice, loud enough that you can hear yourself clearly. I am building fluency one day at a time, and today counts. Say it slowly. Say it clearly. Say it like you mean it, even if part of you is not sure yet. Because every time your mouth produces English in the real world, you are training something important. You are teaching your brain that this is possible, that this voice, your voice, belongs in English too. Before you close this video, say that sentence. Once is enough. But say it out loud. Thank you for being here today. Seriously, the fact that you watched this all the way through tells me something about you, that you are not looking for shortcuts. You are looking for something real. And I respect that. Keep going. Your progress is happening, even on the days when you cannot see it. And I will see you in the next episode, where we go even deeper into the practice that builds the fluency you have been working toward.